for coming on Pally Talks
Hi, thanks so much for having me. Feels very professional.
and taking a break from your 5-month-old.
Yes, so Lily, it was born in April, so yeah, it's basically exactly 5 months, which is wild. It's gone so quickly, as everyone says it does.
Yeah, it flies by. But we'll run through the 5 questions that we have. Actually, we have 6 on the list. But can you explain your business in one sentence?
Yes, so my business is called Harriet and Hera. Hera is the goddess of marriage, so more of a metaphorical business partner. But in one sentence, so I help individuals or couples discover their dream engagement ring. But basically, so that might involve designing a bespoke ring or sourcing a vintage, an antique ring, or maybe redesigning a family ring that they like an heirloom piece, or purchasing a holding ring, which they might want to propose with, and then come back together to design or buy a ring as a couple.
Do you generally get approached by the fiance who's saying, "I don't know where to start. Can you help me?" Or do you find that they actually do have a plan in mind?
So, so 75% of clients I've worked with so far are individuals on their own, and 25% are couples who design the ring together. Sometimes someone might come to me and buy the holding ring and propose, and then they both come back, or they're already engaged and then they come to me. But I would say sometimes, especially with individuals, sometimes they'll come with one image. And that's why I say I always just need, if you have one image, then that's enough to help me understand kind of what vibe he or she is after. Sometimes they come with lots of images, which is always fun and helpful.
All completely different.
No, normally we're similar vibe, but they're just, he or she is clearly just like sending all these, like massive hints.
Yeah.
But that's always good because ultimately you want a ring that you're going to wear it for the rest of your life. So yeah, but then obviously normally that individual sort of is like, what do all these photographs mean, and what are the stones, and they obviously have the images, so I then kind of explain what styles and designs and concepts, and basically feed that individual with knowledge, all the knowledge that I feel is relevant for them to know and understand, so that they can make their own informed decisions when it comes to buying that ring. Because ultimately, I feel it's really important that they choose and design that ring, and I'm here for guidance, but the ring is from them. As soon as they have the knowledge and they know the jewelry language, they can then make those informed decisions themselves, and so enjoy the process, importantly.
And what moment made you realise that you had to start it?
So it was during lockdown. A friend got engaged, and he'd proposed to his fiance or girlfriend at the time, and they came to me together, kind of wanting to design a ring and not knowing where to begin looking. So at that point, I'd been in the industry since university, so 6 or 7 years, and I'd done my gemology qualifications, so I was a gemologist, qualified gemologist. But when I started doing research, I was overwhelmed with all the options that were available. So it was kind of like, if I'm overwhelmed, then you must be overwhelmed. And also I realized that there's no black and white answer to that, because an engagement ring can come in so many forms, and it's so personal to the wearer and their styles and their values and their way of life. So, for example, if you're someone who's really active and sporty, then a ring that is bezel set, so that means when the gold kind of, or the metal, surrounds the stones completely, rather than claws, which were more traditional, I guess, in style. And so by the nature of that design, the stones are a bit more protected. So, I'm always careful about advising wearing your rings going to the gym or playing sport, but they are more harder, like longer, harder wearing, I guess.
Yeah.
The stone's more protected. So there are all these different aspects that you kind of have to consider. And so what I then built out this kind of service, which basically explains all these, provides knowledge and guidance throughout the process, explains all the options available, and then based on what the couple or the individual kind of show interest in, or like color wise, I then go away and put together a mood board, a digital mood board of lots of images and design concepts, and kind of present it to them and basically help them narrow down their options. So it's all kind of a process of elimination when they're working with me. And once the mood board is in a place where they're like, okay, this is kind of the road that I want to go down, or route that I want to explore, then I will match make them with an independent designer that I work with, who then I put them in touch with, send them off with their digital mood board, kind of like their homework, and then that designer will then design the ring with them, bring their kind of finalize the design and bring that vision to life. So I have a carefully curated list of trusted designers that I work with, that I've identified and work with, who all have their own kind of styles and expertise and aesthetic, I guess, so that it's usually quite obvious to me once I've got that design concept in place with the client, who would be the best person at designing the ring with them.
So they go off to the designer with their designs, well, their mood board, and then the ring gets made. Do you find that you then see them again and you say, are you happy with everything? Or do you sort of let them go and then propose?
So at that point, I definitely kind of take a step back slightly, because I want to let the designer do what they do best. The client's definitely always in good hands, but I'm always a sort of helping hand if they want an opinion, or sometimes they might text me some designs or pictures of stones that a designer's sourced just to get my opinion because they can't decide. So I kind of, I'm aware of stepping back, but also, and they always message me when they propose, which is really sweet. So it's such an honor to play a small part in that person. Such a big moment for someone's life. And it's fun. It's kind of, even though I don't have any colleagues, because I'm a one-woman band, I kind of feel like the designers are like my fake colleagues, because I have really good relationships with them, and they're so amazing at what they're doing. It's so exciting to always see the results. It's not like I send them off and I'm like, okay, cool, done, who's next? It's such a personal kind of moment and process, and so it's fun to be involved throughout.
It's such a big part of it's like a milestone, isn't it? You pass your driving test, that's great. You go to graduation, that's great. And then the next one is normally like you get engaged. It's massive because it's such a secret that also you've got to keep, especially if you know the fiance that's going to get proposed to. And when they come to you, you have a like, oh my God, this is so exciting. And you're sort of, I'm presuming you've done some of your friends' rings. Have you had to keep that secret from them?
Yeah, lots of secrets, which is tough and has definitely got easier. I would always, if it was a really good friend, then I would sometimes change their name in my phone to like the plumber or something, so that not that I'm on texting, not that I even have a plumber, or that I'd be on texting terms with him if I did. Just so that if someone's name pops up and my husband saw it or a friend saw it, then there's no risk. And obviously that's super, super important, because you do not want to ruin that secret and that moment for them. So lots of secrets, which is fun. And I feel every time a couple get engaged, I honestly feel like I'm getting engaged again. Like, it's so exciting. I'm just so excited for them. And sometimes they share their kind of proposal plans, and the bit I don't envy is when they, if they choose to go and ask their other half's parents for kind of, I don't know, let them know. Permission sounds a bit kind of old-fashioned, but courtesy, letting them know that their plans. They'll often, some of them joke that I should include that in my service of how to go about doing that. But it's super special to be involved, for sure.
What's been your toughest moment so far?
So I would say juggling motherhood and being a one-woman business. I feel like we kind of both sort of ended up starting our businesses at the same time as having children. So I told myself that I would take off 6 months. I was like, I'm going to properly enjoy being a mum, and obviously do that. I know it takes a lot of time, and then in 6 months I'll decide if I'm ready and see whether I can ease back into it. But then you start to worry that if you say no to business, that there won't be any business to go back to in 6 months' time. And the reality was, I had my last phone call with my client was 3 hours before my contraction started. And then I had a couple of my own designs in production that took longer than I'd optimistically anticipated. So those kind of were ready a couple months after Lily arrived. And then I had new clients inquiring, and it's so hard to turn them away and say no, partly because I love what I do and I love being able to help clients, and it's such an honor to be a part of that moment for them. And so you kind of end up saying yes. Well, I have had to say no, obviously, to a lot of work, but I have said yes to bits and bobs as well. So, but I'm very lucky that I live in London and my in-laws live nearby. So with the help of them and my parents coming up to London, I've been able to do bits and bobs. But it's definitely a balance. And I also love being a mum, and it obviously takes up a lot of time. So I think I've got to have confidence that the business will still be there when I'm ready to go back full time. For now, I'm just, making it work as I can.
Yeah, I think the work will come back. And I think that's the scary thing about having a business and having a baby at the same time. But I do think it's almost like your body knows that you're going to go through probably one of the hardest changes in your life. So it almost is like, let's make it even harder. Let's think of a really good business idea. And it's so weird because it sort of happens at the same time. And there are lots of mums you speak to who have these like brilliant ideas just before they, like 5 months before they have a baby, and they're like, well, but I do think in a way, when you have limited time, because children do give you more limited time than before you have children, it almost makes you work at like a different level of momentum when you actually do have the time to work. So you'll find you get the most incredible amount of work done, and you almost can't relate it to the time before when you had all the time available, because you still sort of managed to get the same amount done, if not more.
Yeah.
And I can't explain it. It's a really weird one. It's almost like you have to get this done in the next 2 hours because that's the window you've got.
Yeah.
So yeah, the work will pick back up. It's amazing how it will just pick back up, and you're doing brilliantly, sort of still doing bits at the same time.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I think I would definitely say that it's, if you want to start a business or do something, then there's no time like the present, right?
Yeah.
And you just it's a juggle, but it's always going to be a juggle if you want kids and you want a family.
Yeah.
So don't wait to start it, because also you never know what will happen. So just bite the bullet and go for it. And it's always a risk, and it's challenging, but it's fun as well.
And next, what's one thing about being a founder that no one warned you about?
So, well, actually, kind of, continuing from what I was about to say, I would say genuinely how much I love it, which sounds really cliche. But, and it's obviously not easy, and it's not always been, that makes it sound like it's a walk in the park. Obviously, it's super scary to leave full-time employment and have the security of jobs and all the benefits, and everyone tells you about, when you're a founder, you're actually only doing a tiny bit of the kind of the business or the job that your business does, because you're having to do the marketing and the quality control and the shipping and the customer service, and so you've got all these different roles that you have to find the time to do, and it's not plain sailing, but it's definitely more thrilling and more rewarding than I expected, even when I'm kind of, it's taken me a while to understand all the accounts and how I, becoming VAT registered and becoming a limited business and all of that before I would have definitely rolled my eyes out. But when it's your business and it's your company, you have no choice. You just have to learn how to do it. And I would say it definitely took me a while to learn how to switch off. And because your business is 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But once I kind of figured out that it's really important to have that downtime and switch off and take the time to yourself, then when you're on, and obviously there'll be some evenings, especially now, where I'll be working late, but making sure that you're not working late every single night, and that you yeah, you're juggling. I can't remember what I was going to say, but yeah, making sure that you find the time to switch off is super important, and all of the boring admin tasks and paying bills and the roles that you don't think you're good at, or that you're not, yeah, you don't have experience doing, it becomes, I've learned to love those roles, I guess.
I do, yeah, I totally agree. I do find I put so much into my business that, like, my own bills, so the household bills, or like paying Hector's nursery bill, or like getting my car booked into a service, does not get a look in.
Yeah.
If it's anything to do with my business, great, I'll sit there and read the terms and conditions for like 2 hours. But when it comes to sort of even just getting stuff ready for dinner, yeah, that just falls. Yeah, just doesn't sort of enter my brain. I think there's so much space that you can give yourself. But yeah, the downtime one's a really interesting one, because you know when you're not at 100% because you just don't have the same momentum. And I think sometimes
Yeah.
that's why I started going to the gym a bit more, just so in the day I have like that hour and hour, which I know I'm out, and I then know when I get back I can focus. Because I sometimes sit here, it's always during like the middle of the day, and I start just like procrastinating. And early mornings and late
Yeah.
nights I work really hard, but that middle, and
Yeah.
I'm like, why am I sat here? I'm just sort of wasting
Yeah.
energy.
hmm I would say that because so much of my business is on my phone, it's really hard to switch off, because
Yeah.
it might be the evening and you're watching TV and then a client messages you or emails you, and so it's impossible not to see it. So I'm the same, going to the gym or doing yoga at home or cooking. I find a great thing to switch off, because you're not looking at.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, so yeah, it definitely takes practice, and obviously having Lily now is good distract. There's times when I literally can't reply to a message, whereas before I had her, I felt like I wanted to be so on it and so as efficient as I possibly could. But actually, yeah, you have other priorities, and you have to make sure that you make yourself a priority, because your business isn't going to succeed if you're just working all the
Yeah,
time.
exactly. I do think WhatsApp's been an incredible creation for business, but it's also it's also so annoying because you cannot escape it.
Yeah.
Unless you then get a business phone and a personal phone, but still, as a founder, that would drive me mad, because I'll be like, oh my God, I left my work phone at home.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's brilliant, but I do a lot of do not disturb it, do not disturb,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
it just really helps.
Yeah, 100%.
And then please could you tell us the most unexpected or ridiculous thing that's happened since you launched?
So I was thinking about this, and I would say the price of gold. So, which you may or may not have heard of. So when I launched in September 2023, the price of gold, and I looked up these stats for you, was £49 a gram. And exactly 2 years later, so September 2025, it's now £86 a gram, which is a 75% increase. So the gold that you bought 2 years ago would cost 75% more now, which is wild. And obviously that's alongside rising energy bills and interest rates and everything else that's going on in our world, politically and economically. It's a tough climate, and obviously jewellery it's a luxury rather than a necessity. So so because of this, I guess I then decided that, okay, the price of gold, and it's always increased because it's a commodity, but I feel like conveniently since I launched the business, it literally, if you look at the graph, it literally has gone like this. So I thought, okay, there's nothing I can do about that. So how can you make this, what are your options? And so I really believe that knowledge is power. And for a client who is spending maybe the most amount of money they've ever spent on something, unless you bought a house or a car, and it's also if you're buying it to propose with, it's a gift that you're not even going to wear. So it's really important to me that an individual kind of knows what they're spending their money on, and also how to spend their money wisely. So for example, I would also say that, kind of at the same time, luckily, concept of what an engagement ring is has really shifted. Traditionally, you would have, our parents' generation or vintage and antique rings, a claw set and a trilogy design, or a solitaire, i.e. like a single stone on a band, or a halo design. Whereas now people are open to different metals, so you see lots of yellow gold and chunky designs and lots of coloured gemstones and architectural designs and organic designs. And so I've wanted to work with all different designers who kind of offer all those different styles, but helping that client understand what their options are and where their money is going, so that they can be assured that they're not just dropping however many thousands of pounds on a ring that you hope is worth that much. And I'm also a big believer that more money doesn't necessarily buy you a more beautiful ring. Rings it's obviously such a unique a personal moment, and so most clients want a very unique ring to signify that moment. But you can be really clever with design, and even actually vintage and antique rings. So a vintage ring is a ring that is defined as being made over 50 years ago, at least 50 years ago. And then an antique ring is a ring that was made at least 100 years ago. So I also work with clients to source rings, vintage and antique rings. So basically it's pre-loved. It was owned by somebody else. And when you buy pre-loved items, same with furniture and art, you don't pay VAT. You pay something called margin rule, which I won't go into. But you're basically saving yourself 20% essentially. So your money is going. So, and also I would say that's kind of your most truly sustainable purchase, because you're not creating anything new. So that's been really interesting, because lots of people, I mean, did you know much about vintage and antique jewellery engagement rings?
No.
So I feel like when you then, most clients don't. And so when you explain that concept, they're like, oh, actually, that sounds really interesting, and some want me to have a look. So that's really fun and really rewarding. But yeah, clients being kind of more experimental in design and interested in coloured gemstones like greens and yellows and brown diamonds means that you don't have to, you can be clever about the design and how you spend your money, and design a ring that is beautiful despite the price of gold increasing so much.
Yeah, and I didn't. So let's say you get a pre-loved ring. It's got loads of diamonds on it. It's got loads of gold. It's got loads of what have you. You buy it, you get the 20% off, but you melt it all down and you just change it into a whole new ring. Do you still not pay the VAT on? So are you basically buying the?
No, so if you were redesigning a vintage ring, then you would have to charge VAT for redesigning it into something new. But I source vintage and antique rings that and the client would propose with that ring in its condition as it is. So it's kind of like a treasure hunt. So I work with lots of jewelry dealers all over the country, who they travel all over the country, and they go to auction houses and find the best, lots of beautiful pieces, and then they come in lots of different styles and designs, and they're often categorized by the era they were made. So Victorian rings, Georgian rings, gypsy style rings. The Art Deco style is kind of very popular these days with contemporary designers. So lots of contemporary designers will kind of be influenced by the Art Deco period. But you can get some really incredible rings that are in really, really good condition, because obviously you can get lots of rings that have been pre-loved and worn to death. And in that instance, I try and avoid those, just because with the ring that someone's going to be wearing every day, it needs to withstand daily wear and tear. So I tried to search for rings that are in really good condition, and that are so unique, because antique and vintage jewelry was always handmade. Machinery and technology and lasers and computers didn't exist. So it was always handmade and therefore not mass produced. Every time I source a vintage ring, you see and discover rings and styles and designs that I have never seen before, which is really, really fun for me, but also really fun for a client, because they can be confident in the knowledge that their ring really is one of a kind, even though you're not designing it from scratch necessarily.
And there's something quite romantic about it having been already someone's sort of love gift, and then it's been like passed through. It's like, yeah, it's so nice. And then where do you see yourself in 1 year's time? I try not to do 5 year time, a 5 year question on this, just because it's sort of, you'll be like, oh, I don't know. But yeah, 1 year from now, where do you see you and Harriet and Hera, and sort of, yeah, where do you want to be?
So I would love, so I'm doing more and more of my own designs, and I would love to launch my own range of kind of signature Harriet Haxby engagement ring designs. But I would say 1 year might be a little bit optimistic. But so that's definitely ticking along. Doing more of my designs, I guess, would be great. But as long as as long as I can pick off where I left off pre-maternity leave, and keep helping clients discover their dream ring, and playing a small part in those once of a lifetime moments, then I'll be very content. The feedback is obviously, feedback is key to any business, and it's so rewarding when clients feedback that they wouldn't have, I mean, I'm sure there are so many amazing rings out there, and you don't need me to buy an engagement ring. But I guess the main feedback that I tend to get is that I've saved someone a lot of time and stress, and made it least as undaunting as possible. Is that a word? Undaunting.
Yeah.
And when they say that they never would have ever kind of considered a design had it not been for me, that's really amazing. And obviously when the receiver loves it and wears it and is going to wear it for the rest of her life, that is really special. So yeah, if I can continue doing what I'm doing alongside motherhood, then I will be very happy.
Yeah, well done. What you've done is incredible. And if any assistants in our network have someone looking to buy an engagement ring and don't know where to start, I will send them in your direction. But yeah, huge congratulations. And yeah, we'll speak in a year's time and catch up and see where we got to. But thank you, Harriet.
Thank you so much for having me.